We both know what Chase is bringing in this matchup, which I think is going to be really interesting.
I'm super excited for it. He sent it to me, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great.
So he sent me a showdown replay he sent me a screenshot of a showdown replay where he actually faced off against two of the same, where it was like that meme of like, the Spider-Man meme, like staring at each other.
Yeah.
And it was a core that you wouldn't really expect. So we'll wait to see. We're going to see from Nibbs' side. It looks like Nibbs is running a similar a Lucario team to what he's been running for the last several weeks. And there it is. We've got...
Yeah, Steelix! Let's do it!
Yeah, we've got Steelix, Milotic, Rillaboom, Drifblim, Indeedee, and Dusclops up against Nibbs' 6, which are the same, I believe, he's kind of brought to the last several weeks, with Lucario, Dragapult, Lapras, Togekiss, Arcanine, and Grimmsnarl. So,
Yes.
What are you expecting out of this RollAcosta?
Well, I mean, Chase did send me a paste of what that team is. But he did say that he changed it. I mean, you see Rillaboom and Drifblim together, you think the support Drifblim with Grassy Seed to get the Unburdened speed boost after and getting a defense boost too. I mean, have you seen anyone use a Steelix competitively, in anything?
Not beyond that one Pokeball, not beyond basically Chase. So one of the things that Chase did was he sent JD, he said, I'm going to use a ground and steel type. I'm going to use Milotic. But he failed to mention it wasn't Excadrill. So I'm really interested to see. This is going to be unconventional, to say the least. I think that there's
I'm super excited.
Yeah, so with, I think Steelix got a decent buff this generation with access to Body Press. Mm-hmm. So now you have a move that does so much damage. All right, and those are the leads. So we've got Drifblim, Rillaboom versus Togekiss and Grimmsnarl.
Yeah, so Drifblim's going to get a nice defense boost after proccing the Grassy Seed, and that's also going to trigger Unburden, doubling Drifblim's speed. It should make Drifblim the fastest thing on the field, so you basically have a more or less Prankstermon with support moves. But JD has an actual Prankstermon with Grimmsnarl, so maybe he'll set up a screen or something like that, get his defenses ready. This isn't a super bad lead for JD. I mean, Togekiss resists Rillaboom and does super effective damage, so I wouldn't feel super... Oh, he switches it out.
Yeah, no, it's interesting switching it out there. I'm sorry, I was adjusting my lighting.
Ooh, he's Dynamaxing Grimmsnarl.
Oh, we haven't seen the Gigantamax Grimmsnarl. I'm sorry, this is a little bit laggy here, folks, but I think we're doing a little bit better on quality from the stream from last week. It's looking kind of like Rose Tower's Top Cut streams yesterday was.
Oh man, okay, so maybe he's going for something like the G-Max Snooze or just a Max Starfall. Drifblim has Hypnosis.
Oh my
god, and the Woodhammer coming out.
Did that connect? My feed cut out for half a second.
The Hypnosis did not connect,
okay.
And now JD's firing back with the G-Max Snooze, presumably doing a lot of damage to that Drifblim.
That Drifblim manages to live in the red, so it's going to have the advantage of moving first regardless next turn, since now that Grimmsnarl is Gigantamax and it's not going to be going for, or not have access to those Prankster moves. But yeah, this is interesting. Oh, it's also interesting for me to see. I haven't seen this Grimmsnarl in a while. I was used to when it only had only had access to Sucker Punch, and I was able to win a game by just stalling it, by just not using any attacks for 5 turns.
Yeah, it's always scary when Grimmsnarl's your last Pokemon, because he's super annoying when he's on the field, but when he's all that you have left, you're like, oh, I guess I lose now. This is terrible.
Yeah, this team is really interesting because I know that JD really likes screens. So as you can see, there's a Light Clay on that Grimmsnarl, and an Assault Vest on the Lapras. So.
Something funny, JD does like screens, but by Dynamaxing... Oh, Hypnosis connects onto Togekiss this time.
Wow.
But that's a good switch on JD's part, avoiding a really big Woodhammer that probably would have just killed that Lapras. But Chase doesn't even take the bait, he just keeps going for Grimmsnarl. Oh,
Yeah.
and that gets the knockout.
Wow.
So JD's gonna lose his Gigantamax. That is misfortune, and his Togekiss is asleep. So this is not a great position for JD.
Yeah, it's also worth noting he's not going to have access to set any more screens for the rest of the game because that Lapras, unless it can Gigantamax, can't set any screens like you were mentioning before.
Yeah, it's funny. Like by Dynamaxing his Grimmsnarl, he completely eliminates screens because his screen moves just become Max Guard, and his Lapras can't Gigantamax. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so he's going to bring in Dragapult now, an incredibly fast Pokemon, so that's not too bad. The Drifblim, however, will be faster, presumably.
Yeah, I don't think that there is a way for... Oh, Dragapult gets the avoid.
Misses the Will-O-Wisp. Clutch dodge there.
Yeah, so this Drifblim, because of its Unburden ability, I think it's going to end up being one of the fastest Pokemon in the game at this point. And it also, interestingly enough, gets access to moves like Tailwind, as well as several other status moves as we've seen, like Will-O-Wisp and Hypnosis. So I'm also seeing a question in chat. Should you be able to get the Grassy Seed on a Pokemon who isn't touching the terrain?
I've thought about this. I don't think you should. You don't get any of the other terrain boosts. I don't understand why the seeds still proc for things that aren't touching the terrain. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that is something I actually had not realized the interaction on until I'd seen this. Like, I'd heard previously in this format of folks using Psychic Seed and DD, Psychic Seed Drifblim next to a Male and DD, and maxing that Male and DD, but it looks like we're gonna see a switch out from the Rillaboom into the
Steelix. Yeah, buddy.
And it looks like we get the fourth move there on that Drifblim, revealing Shadow Ball.
Shadow Ball.
Yeah, so it's not a purely support, and it's also not carrying a Tailwind, for instance.
So this is gonna be, so Steelix is incredibly bulky, only in physical defense. Its special defense isn't super spectacular, and I don't think its HP is that spectacular either.
Yeah, but at this point, the only thing that's threatening damage is that Togekiss from a special... I suppose the Lapras also will, if that can switch in.
Yeah, the Lapras in the back can probably do a lot. Obviously, if Togekiss has something like Heat Wave and it crits, that's going to do a lot to the Steelix.
Yeah, exactly. The Steelix is going to be helped out by the fact that it's getting passive recovery from that Leech Seed and from Grassy Terrain every turn.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is beautiful.
Here it comes. What the moment we've been waiting for.
Dynamax Steelix. I'm so happy right now.
This is this is a first for me, seeing how big that Dynamax Steelix is.
I love it. Steelix is actually like one of my favorite Pokemon. I think he's so cool, even though he is also trash. But maybe Chase has something that's not trash with the Steelix set.
I'm really interested to see what it's going to be. One of the things that I had always hoped for from the anime was if the Crystal, and it looks like the Togekiss is going to stay asleep there. Oh, a Max Steel Spike.
Yeah, it's the Togekiss gets that nice defense boost.
Taking out one of the only special attackers there that could potentially be threatening with Heat Wave. So the other thing that's interesting is the option of a Body Press coming from that Steelix after Dynamax. Starting off with a base 200 defense, using that as your attack stat is pretty wild.
Yeah. And looks like Chase is going to be boosting that even more by going for those Steel Spikes, boosting his physical defense. Yeah, Steelix also has basically the same concept of Excadrill that makes it so threatening. Its two stab moves are the moves that increases its defenses, making it harder and harder to kill, so...
Yeah.
While it's doing, like, so much damage. But let's see what's going to happen here.
Like
Draco goes for a second Protect. Interesting. Hypnosis onto the Lapras. Ooh,
yeah,
another Connect.
Yeah, that felt like the most viable option for Chase there, because Lapras is really the only thing that's threatening damage onto that Steelix. I know Dragapult hits hard, but against a base +2 base 200... and wow, it looks like Chase went boldly into that Dragapult, not expecting a Phantom Force potentially coming out.
For the Lapras.
He targeted the Dragapult with that Steel Spike.
Yeah, he did put the Lapras to sleep. However, like, I think when you're using a move like Hypnosis, I don't think you're going for that in a position of like, oh, I really need this sleep to connect.
Yeah, that's true.
Alright, Rillaboom's going to switch back in for the Drifblim, so it's going to lose the boost from its speed and from the Grassy Seed. And the Grassy Surge is going to reactivate, getting more passive recovery for the Steelix.
Yeah, in this position, though, I think... I really think that Drifloom's kind of done its job and did what it came here to do. It did everything short of burning that Dragapult, which it tried on several occasions, and it looks like, despite the Protect there, that Dragapult's going to fall to about 35% left on its damage.
Yeah, and now the Steelix is at +3 defense, and if it has Body Press, it is going... I don't imagine that Lapras will survive it.
No, I don't think that... I don't... yeah, that's just an insane attack stat to be going off of, because, you know, as we learned in this new generation, we get this access to this move called Body Press, where instead of using the base attack, it's using the base defense of the Pokemon.
JD's in a pretty rough position right now. Maybe if he crits every single move from here on out, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm struggling to find the win con here for JD with just his Dragapult left, as well as that Lapras that's still asleep. We also haven't revealed what exactly the move is. Oh, and even guaranteeing that Lapras won't be able to...
fake out.
Yeah.
Fly from Dragapult.
So yeah, Dragapult will be avoiding attack here, if it was targeted.
Lapras stays asleep. And here comes the Body Press, and I don't think it's going to survive.
No. Having that access to the Fake Out at that exact moment was a great play from Chase, knowing that even if the Lapras were to wake up and outspeed the Steelix, it wasn't going to be in a position where it could threaten a knockout.
Mm-hmm. And now, even if Fly connects and takes out the Rillaboom, I imagine that... Well, maybe... JD will find out what the Steel move is based off of. It could be Iron Tail, it could be presumably Iron Head, maybe Heavy Slam even.
Yeah, the only other potential win con was somehow maybe I'm actually
Looks
curious.
like he's not gonna find out.
Yeah, we're just gonna see the Wood Hammer. The only other potential kind of craziness that could have happened was maybe like a full para off of the Fly into a miss from the Steelix.
Does Fly cause paralysis?
Oh, I'm thinking of Bounce. Wow. Yeah. I've been so used to only seeing Cinderace lately that I've gotten so locked in on the 2-turn flying move.
But I would say that's a pretty spectacular win con if a move that doesn't normally paralyzes your opponent.
That is one way to sneak a win out. Let's see. Are they going to accept... Are they going to receive the opponent's lead card? Let's see. I made the mistake of accepting yours on game 1 after the win. I got cocky.
I promise no sleep, Milo.
Yeah, our private chat right now. Nibbs is reliably...
Oh, man.
I think that he wasn't quite expecting this Steelix. I know that I would not have been in preparation for this week's game. I also wasn't preparing for double ally switch myself.
Today, I found out that Drifblim gets Hypnosis, so I also would not have been prepared for that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, Drifblim's such an interesting support mon. I know that you attempted a Drifblim team where it was actually an offensive Drifblim, right?
Yeah, I was using Sage and Park's Drifblim team, which if you check out Sage and Park's Twitter, you can find the rental code for it. It's a really fun team. I did not use it successfully, but Drifblim's really cool. It's got Burden's a really cool ability. And it has a very interesting move pool. There's a lot of weird ways that you can work with Drifblim.
Yeah. So if you're Nibbs here, what's your adjustment? So that lead of Rillaboom and Drifblim is just very oppressive.
It is, yeah. I'm not entirely sure. Well, so like the main thing you need to take care of is you need to get rid of the Drifblim so it's not causing any trouble for you. So I think, like, I believe that Nibbs's Togekiss is an offensive one and not very supportive, but still, like, using it to follow me to redirect burns or sleeps and trying to get the KO with a Max Phantasm might be very helpful. Mm-hmm. Then you, of course, could like Max Airstream the Rillaboom and just go from there. But I think mainly he needs to shut down the support mons so that he can kind of freely go for damage, because Steelix is pretty slow and has a very low base special defense. So
yeah,
Lapras and Togekiss, once it's done with its Dynamax, I think could take care of it pretty easily. Yeah. And he's actually going to lead with Lapras and Togekiss. Interesting.
Yeah, so he might be here prioritizing knocking out that Drifblim in turn 1, maybe with like a Max Resonance while also getting screens up. he's just going to have to potentially sacrifice his Togekisses going to sleep, as well as probably taking a Wood Hammer.
Personally, something that I would be worried about right now would be a fake out and Hypnosis and the Hypnosis connecting. But I don't know if you're Chase that you risk something like that, or depends on how much of a risk you see that as.
Yeah, because that's an incredibly high risk but high reward play, because you could be losing your Drifloon without really getting any kind of benefit, or you could end up essentially taking the game turn 1.
I just saw a question in chat that was, why doesn't Hypnosis fail on Dark types? So Dark types are only immune to Prankster status moves, and Drifblim is just very... Oh, interesting. Protect from Rillaboom. Okay. And Drifblim, when it gets the Unburden proc, it just becomes incredibly fast.
Yeah, and all status moves still hit regardless of the typing. So like that's why
Hypnosis misses.
Hypnosis does miss. That's big. So last game I used Pain Split into a Ghost type and it worked. So status moves will work regardless of typing. So despite Hypnosis being a Psychic type, Thunder Wave is an exception actually there. Yeah.
That's... You know what? I guess there's just no rules.
Yeah, the more you think about it, there's going to be exceptions to it. But yeah, I believe that they're probably Cerebi.net's probably got a good list of moves that hit regardless of typing.
So Nibbs is in a much better position than he was previously. He avoided the Hypnosis, so his Togekiss is still awake, so he can still go for damaging moves with it. He has the Aurora Veil up, and he got rid of the Drifblim, so I'd say this is a pretty solid positioning from him. But Chase has brought up Dusclops, and Dusclops, like Drifblim, can be very annoying.
Yeah, exactly. It is this. I'm curious to see what form moves this Dusclops is running. I haven't actually seen the full pace of this team, so we can be surprised together. Even though you might have seen it, but there are so many viable moves from Dusclops that it's interesting to see what you end up going with, whether it's a Haze or a Shadow Sneak, or Shadow Sneak doesn't look likely.
Steelix may have just switched into an Ice type move and a Heat Wave, so
that's gonna be rough.
Yeah, let's see how much damage this Heat Wave gets on it.
Wow.
Ooh, and it's the crit too.
Oh, and
Rocking the weakness policy.
Yep, we've got the item, so it is that weakness policy. If I had to guess, given that it's weakness policy, that Dusclops is likely going to be running some kind of a like a bulldoze, so that it can self-proc the weakness policy.
I didn't quite see, I don't know if you did, how much damage did Steelix take from that Heat Wave?
Quite a bit. It's down to about, after Grassy Terrain recovery, it's still in the red, so probably around like 15 to 20% right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to Dynamax something like that.
Yeah, you're not in a great position. The only kind of solace here is that despite that it being at such low health, it is still going off of a base 200 defense for that body press. There's not a whole lot on Nibbs' team that wants to eat that body press. You could switch in a Dragapult, but then you have Dragapult as the fastest Pokemon in Trick, on the field in Trick Room and in a bad spot.
So this turn, what do you think Nibbs is gonna go for? Personally, I would just go out all offensive and try to take out that Steelix, knowing that that's probably what Chase wants to Dynamax.
Yeah, I agree. Or at the very least, right now it's +2. Not that that's gonna help in the case of a body press. Oh my gosh, we see the Iron Head come out, and Togekiss lives on just a sliver, and the resonance
is gonna finish that off.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the resonance there? Would you have preferred to go for a Max Geyser to set the rain for later, given that you already have resonance up?
Actually, I don't think I would want to do that in this instance, because if he switches into something like Rillaboom, you don't get that much damage off. Resonance guarantees that if he switches into Rillaboom, you get big damage. We've also seen Heat Wave from this Togekiss, so you don't want to weaken the effect of that when it's going to be doing a lot of damage to both Rillaboom and Steelix. So Chase is down to his last two Pokemon. Nibbs has his entire team, but let's see what exactly this Rillaboom can do. I assume that that's what he's going to Dynamax. I would love to see Dynamax Dusclops.
Yeah, I'm curious here, given the speed stat of that Rillaboom, if maybe he doesn't, turn 1 want to go for a fake out and knock out the Togekiss first, and render the Lapras more inert before next turn going into a max overgrowth.
Yeah. So Frobro is asking why Heat Waves over Dazzling. I think the best justification is to cover the option of Rillaboom switching in to try to get off as much damage as you can. But it depends on if you're wanting to get damage off on Dusclops or on Rillaboom on a switch in. I think like either is a fine play, because obviously you don't risk the misc with Dazzling Gleam. And you're getting damage off on the Dusclops and stays in. If Steelix stays in, it looks so low that it was definitely going to pass out from anything that hit it.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks, interestingly enough, the Rillaboom actually went for Leech Seed after having to eat a Freeze Dry from a slower Lapras. It is going to continue to get this recovery now from Leech Seed and Grassy Terrain.
Yeah, maybe Rillaboom can pull something back if it just gets enough passes or recovery back.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's going to be in a position where he's got to try and take out two Pokemon that are faster, and then one that's going to be faster in Trick Room. So, with one of those opponents facing it down, that it hits it super effectively.
So, in this position, I would imagine that you would just go for as much damage as you could get off of that Rillaboom, because I don't think we've seen Nightshade and Trick Room from this Dusclops, and I don't know. Oh, Protect, really interesting there. Yeah. I guess I think Chase is trying to stall out his own Trick Room.
Yeah, and hitting the Will-O-Wisp onto the Lucario is really interesting. We know the item, and I think that Chase generally knows what item JD likes to run on that Lucario. So now its damage output's going to be cut in half, and it's going to be taking... it's going to lose its Focus Sash here with the... Actually, wait, no, because the Grassy Terrain will bring the Focus Sash back into play. So interesting interplay between that, with Rillaboom just kind of continuing to get that passive damage, and it's almost all the way back. We're looking here, it's at what? Almost 80%?
Yeah. I mean, like, Rillaboom could probably... he's also probably stalling out the Aurora Veil, too. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he has lost access to Grassy Terrain right now, but Lucario also... I forgot that the Grassy Terrain procs before the burn, so Lucario's Sash now has been broken. It is going to be faster than Rillaboom now.
Yeah. This is the last turn of Trick Room, so it's going to be the last turn that Lapras is going to be faster than this Rillaboom. Potentially a good opportunity to get as much damage as you possibly can off of it, and then hope that Dragapult can finish it off in the end.
Yeah, and we know that the move that hits most effective is going to be Fly, which is that 2-turn move. When you're going into a Pokemon that has access to Protect, that's not really where you want to be. The only really viable move from that point for the Dragapult is going to be a Dragon Dart. So we're going to see Dynamax here on the last turn of Trick Room with that Rillaboom.
I was hoping it was the Dusclops.
I wouldn't put it past Chase at this point. He's given us Dynamax Steelix with a +3 body press. Alright, so we see a Nightshade into Lucario, getting some good damage. That Freeze Dry goes off, bringing Rillaboom down to below. Oh my gosh! Sorry about headphone users.
Okay, he falls out immediately, but that could have been really bad.
Ooh, the roller coaster, my god. Oh, and he went into the Lucario knowing that it would outspeed him next turn, and where he's going to have access to outspeeding the Lapras this turn. I like that play.
That's actually, that's really good. I mean, you saw how much Freeze Dry did, like, when it wasn't Dynamax, so you know that you're going to survive at least one, probably even if it crits, and basically you only lose to getting frozen, and he didn't really have any way to avoid that except for what happened, which is just thawing out.
Yeah, is the item on that Rillaboom leftovers? Have I been missing that? I think that...
Oh yeah, it's been leftovers.
So that's why he's healing up so much. He's leftovers, Leech Seed, and Grassy Terrain now. So
yeah.
So yeah, he's made his way back over half. He does have to deal with this Dragapult, which is faster and presumably going to be using a move that probably takes it into the Shadow Realm, or a Dragon Darts, which I don't think will be quite enough.
Yeah.
Oh, are we going to see the play?
Interesting.
This would be really interesting.
That's
from
very interesting. Well, okay, so
oh, did he change it?
Okay, so JD's going for a self-weakness policy proc, try to get as much damage off this Rillaboom. I think I agree with that because, I mean, there's no way that Lapras is surviving the turn unless he just targets Dragapult for some reason.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I think what's going to happen here is we're going to see a Max Overgrowth into Lapras, followed by a Trick Room from Dusclops. To go ahead and make Rillaboom back to being the moving first as the second slowest Pokemon on the field.
Yeah, that's exactly what he goes for.
Yeah, there wasn't. I think that Nibbs played to kind of his closest win condition there with that. There's no chance of a freeze from Ice Shard, so he couldn't rely on that into the Rillaboom. But yeah, proccing that weakness policy and getting as much damage off before going down was really the best play.
Dragapult's super strong, and it now has its like weakness policy procced. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it past a Dragapult. Like, Will-O-Wisp doesn't always connect 100% of the time, so you never know what's gonna happen. It looks like he's gonna protect just to stall out this last turn of Dynamax.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Chase isn't even going to risk missing Will-O-Wisp. He's just going to go completely offensive on this one.
I think that's the right play. The Max Overgrowth, despite the grassy terrain, not doing a whole ton into a protected Dragapult. Is that a... that's only two times resist, not a quad resist move.
Potential downsides to Ice Shard and Phantom Force. Let's see, because you would still stall out the last turn of Dynamax, especially because he set Trick Room. If Chase messes up and targets Dragapult, you waste like 2 turns of Dynamax.
Yeah,
there is always the potential of Ally Switch, but like, I don't know, you're still getting pretty big damage off. Like, you're doing more damage than you are with Dragon Darts.
Yeah. No, I think that would have been an interesting play, the Ice Shard into Phantom Force, because if Trick Room does go up, then you are, going to be moving last, and you can't protect through that. And at which point you are going to be kind of overpowering. But yeah, I believe that's going to take the set with a really good matchup there. An interesting set of teams where you have Nibbs, who's been using the same team and feels really comfortable with it, versus... Tiki, who understands that team quite well, and also I know that he's been really wanting to get into some alternative team building with the DLC getting ready to launch. So